Brain disorders remain some of the hardest conditions in all of medicine to treat. For example, for 25 years, we had no new Alzheimer's medication. Even now, the medication we do have offers only marginal benefit. And for other major brain disorders, Parkinson's disease, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, we simply haven't made the kind of progress that we've made with cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. Heart transplants have become routine, and we have no medication that even slows Parkinson's disease. We've used silver target, silver bullet approaches to design brain therapies. This perspective has been limiting, and we need a better metaphor. As a neurologist, I've spent 25 years treating brain disorders, sometimes delivering diagnoses for conditions with few effective therapies. I walk with my patients on the balance beam of scientific uncertainty and hope. This work has been my professional life, but this story is deeply personal. My precious sons, Austin and Colin, they both developed ultradian bipolar disorder, a severe form of the illness where mood shifts don't happen once or twice a year, but many times a day. Most people have never heard of it, and honestly, many physicians haven't either. Austin and Colin, they grew up as little Huck Finns on the bayous and swamps of our Louisiana home. They were little dreamers, and they spent their days building forts and catching tadpoles, returning home with mud-crusted legs and excuses. Despite my medical expertise, despite access to the best care available, I lost them both. They were treated at McLean Hospital, Harvard psychiatric affiliate. They spent months in intensive medication trials at the Menninger Clinic. They had excellent doctors. They had everything medicine has to offer. And none of it worked. For years after their deaths, I saw no new approaches that would have changed their outcomes, no new tools and no new understanding. And alongside that scientific stagnation, I continued to see stigma silence patients and families, leaving them isolated at the moment they needed care the most. For a long time, I felt like I was treading water. We've been able to sequence DNA, and we can watch the brain at work with functional MRI, but cures have remained out of reach. For a long time, I couldn't imagine saying the next sentence, but now, for the first time in more than a decade, I feel something I wasn't expecting to feel again: hope. We're living through a turning point in brain science. Up to this point, we've used those silver target therapies, targeting to design brain therapies. We've envisioned on-off switches, and it just it hasn't worked for us. But now times are changing, and instead of the domino effect approach that we used before, it's more like a butterfly effect. The brain works more like a complex web of embedded nodes that form feed-forward and feedback networks, all the while in conversation with our environment, both internal and external. A small change can trigger an enormous cascade in the brain that can lead to unpredictable shifts. It can cause a storm, but it can cause an epiphany. Part of the shift comes from brain omics. Brain omics is an interdisciplinary field that studies genetics, proteins, metabolites, brain circuits, RNA and DNA replication, and how DNA is changed within the brain itself. We now know that thoughts, they are both deeply personal and they can be observed using brain imaging. All of this is combined with information from patients and the doctors caring for them. Which medications are the patients taking? Are they working or not working? Is the patient holding down a job, managing relationships? And what's their smartwatch saying? And part of it comes from artificial intelligence, which can identify patterns in information no human mind could ever hold. Imagine what we can do with this cross-correlated data generated by AI. And part of it comes from data we generate every day with our wearable devices, often without thinking much about it, other than wondering, why are smartwatches judging us for not standing up? When someone is depressed, barely moving, that information is captured. When someone is manic, pacing, not sleeping, that story is captured too. For the first time, we can begin to combine what people experience in their daily lives with what's happening biologically in their brain, blood, and body. This changes things. It changes how we understand function and dysfunction, and it changes how we treat patients. And it opens the door to care that is far more personal, far more precise, and far more effective. And this is where you come in. We can all do our parts to make stride in brain care. First, we need to let go of stigma around severe and psychotic brain disorders. When someone is experiencing psychosis, they're not less human. They're experiencing altered perceptions of themselves and the world. Recognizing this person's humanity is an act of compassion that connects us with our own humanity. Second, consider contributing your health data. Information is needed both from those who live with brain disorders and from those who don't. Blood samples, genetic information, and those digital biomarkers, when shared anonymously and responsibly, are already helping researchers see what was previously invisible. And finally, I want to ask for something harder. Consider brain donation. Don't worry, I don't mean today. The Harvard Brain Tissue Resource Center currently has about 8,000 brains. That number is small, not because the need is small, but because we're uncomfortable imagining our brains as something that could continue to matter after we're gone, which is understandable. Most of us don't spend a lot of time thinking, what's going to happen to my brain when I'm done with it? I know this because I've done it. I've signed the documents pledging to donate my brain, and I've told my family. And I did it in honor of my sons, Austin and Colin. I remember their boyhood giggles. I remember their indoor basketball games that ended with handprints on the ceiling. And when I yelled, "Colin, get the snake out of the house," and he answered, "But Mom, it's so pretty." These are the moments I think about and I miss the most. But thankfully, we're standing at the edge of a fundamental shift of our understanding of brain disorders. It's a moment when mystery gives way to insight and limitations start to transform into opportunities. It's not just a scientific moment. It's a human moment. And each of us has a role to play in what will happen next and in creating a world where all minds are at ease and free.